how are they feeling? So if you've got a child with debilitating anxiety, we must go learn that. So get on their turf with where they're at, because what really happens is a lot of damage that I have seen done, and I have done to my own kids of my own ignorance, maybe good intentions, but not understanding what they're going through.
Yeah.
And getting to their level so we can grasp it. It means I can support them better. It
Yeah.
means they're going to walk through it better. It means that they're feeling more validated. I've had so many students feel invalidated by their parents because they didn't understand.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Shine a Light. This is Christine Miles, your host. We are here today with my guest, Dr. Suzanne Simpson. And I'll just take a moment to give a brief introduction, and then we're going to jump in. But welcome, welcome. It's nice to have you here.
Hi, Christine.
So Dr. Simpson is an educator, mother, speaker, and podcaster. She taught French immersion for 2 decades and worked at an inpatient use psychiatric unit supporting teens in crisis. Her research focuses on connection and secure attachment. This is such an important topic. I can't wait to dive in. Susan is passionate about sharing practical tools that help parents and educators strengthen communication, build trust, and support teen mental health. She is the host of Get on Their Turf podcast. That's a great title, Susan. So welcome, or Suzanne, pardon me. It's welcome. It's really nice to have you here.
Thanks, Christine, for having me.
Yeah. Well, we share the working on an inpatient psychiatric hospital experience, because I started my career at 22 as a home-based family therapist through the Philadelphia Child Guidance Center of Pennsylvania Hospital, where Salvador Minuchin of structural family therapy had introduced structural family therapy. And then I worked at that hospital on the 14 to 16-year-old unit as a counselor therapist. How about you? How did you get into that work?
Oh gosh. So I wanted to teach since kindergarten, and French immersion here in Canada you're teaching in French. We're a bilingual country.
Wow.
So it's all in French. So it's an academic program. It's a very academic program. And I started working with kids that were either having challenges with anxiety or social challenges, like just the whole social emotional realm. And I loved it. And I started getting the kids that I wanted them. Like, I want that one and that one that are the hardest, that were always in trouble, always at the principal's office. Loved it. Worked with some of them for 2 years through grade 6,
What did you love about it? So that's because oftentimes that's not what people are running toward. Like, I used to say to the firefighters, you're running the wrong way. Like, that's
right.
Yeah, everybody else's instinct is to go away from the fire. Why did you want to run towards it?
Because I loved watching transformation. I loved it.
You could see the difference.
I watched transformation, and it was all entirely grounded in secure attachment and relationship and connection with the kids, all of it.
So this is a term that's much more common than it used to be. But let's talk about what secure attachment, or even insecure, anxious, avoidant, right? What is insecure attachment?
So insecure attachment means I actually don't know where I'm at with you. Don't know where I'm at with you. I don't know what could happen.
Don't go online dating or you're done.
Right? And stay off social media entirely at that, right?
Yeah.
So that's, I think, insecure. Secure attachment is, I know that whatever I do, you will still love me.
Unconditional
I feel
love.
unconditional love, and I feel a bond. There's your attachment. So secure is without hesitation. I know this to be so true. And then that attachment is the connection, right? Connection together. It's everything.
How many people grow up feeling securely attached? Because the eyes and the perception is so much of our reality, right? So
I'll tell you how you, so first of all, I actually just thought of this right now. How do I know I grew up with secure attachment? It's going to be in your behavior as an adult.
And what will that look like?
Okay. So I will probably, if I have secure attachment, be more confident in my relationships, less offended, less fly off the handle. And I think for people that are raised with insecure attachment, just picture your foundation.
Yeah.
It's shaky ground. We know there is hope. We know there is healing. We know from neuroscience, neuroplasticity, we know we can change neural pathways, but there's just this foundational shift from early on.
Yeah.
That makes it harder. And I I think you probably would say this too. You can probably tell people that grew up with insecure attachment because how they are relationally.
So relationally, like, just paint the picture, just so people can really understand what you mean.
So are you talking about in childhood or as an
Yeah,
adult
or both. Like
relationships?
you say, it's obvious, but I think you know what you're looking for. So
Sure.
just to make it obvious to all of, more obvious, let's say.
So I'm going to tell you a story.
Mm-hmm.
Is that okay? I'm going to answer you with
Absolutely.
a
Let's
story.
do it. Yeah.
So I had a colleague who, if I challenged her once in front of staff about like a bus trip, like taking the bus, right?
Okay.
That day she stopped walking through my classroom. She stopped talking to me. It was evident. Okay. About 2 months later, I built her up at a staff meeting where I said, "Oh, I really agree with her, blah, blah, blah." I kid you not, the exact same day, she was back through my classroom, walking through, talking to me again. It happened again. I challenged her on something. I'm a straight shooter. It wasn't anything personal. She stopped talking to me. I built her up again. And my response was, who did this to you? Somebody has done something that you are so torn up internally. If I'm challenging you about a bus ride,
Yeah.
what happened to you? So Oprah Winfrey, right? What happened to you? My thought is, who did this to you? Let's take responsibility as the adults.
Yeah.
Somebody did something to you. So you can see.
Did you ask her that question, or you just thought it?
I thought it.
So, because going into so much of my career, I've gone into organizations, and sometimes it's managing. That kind of person would be labeled as toxic in the work environment, right?
Absolutely.
One day talking to me, not the next day. And it's highly, highly confusing to people. Yeah. So how do we manage that and empathize with that and support one another?
I promise you that if somebody was raised without secure attachment or raised with trauma, abuse, neglect, you and I were talking before we started press record, right?
Yeah.
Mental health disorders in the family, things have been done to them. So therefore, as adults, when we face somebody who we would call toxic, the power of being aware of our unawareness, Christine, is transformative.
Sure.
That's our response. So when I know that I don't know what happened to them, somebody did something to you. This is not healthy, if I could say that loosely, behavior. You're not talking to me anymore. You're you're tearing me up and down. This is now personal. This is not like the list goes on and on of what that behavior is, right?
Right.
People who are raised with unconditional love in healthy homes where they feel cherished and they don't have to go on eggshells and they know mom and dad will move heaven and earth for them. Sweeping generalization will not respond with toxicity because they grew up without the toxicity.
Is it binary though, or is it on a continuum? So do we, you're describing someone who was probably, it was pretty black and white, and it's more extreme. But what if the next person over at the next cubicle, I'm just playing devil's advocate, also didn't have as an extreme a reaction or, attachment problem, but maybe there's still some insecurities there. Then what? How do we manage all this? Because we're all trying to fix what our neuropathways were, wired to do in childhood. Yeah.
I'm going to go back to that knowing that we don't know, asking questions, or even like not out loud questions, but why are you feeling this insecure? Yeah. Something's gone on. Something has happened that you are behaving this way, whether it's really severe or just on that lower end of the spectrum. Yeah. And so then when we know that we don't know, we respond with more empathy.
So it gives us more awareness to our own reactivity to it.
More compassion. Maybe some other questions. Like I teach this to I've got my kids are 19 and 21 about, okay, people have bad days too. So maybe they're having a bad day. Ask the question. Maybe they're having a bad day. Or this person, like my son's been through stuff where people are unkind. And I said, curious what his family background is. He goes, oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. Yeah. He talks about, I said, interesting. So ask those questions. I consider it, right? So then you're also less offended.
So what's the balance between, and I'm just trying to, because first of all, my belief is that the greatest gift you can give someone is understanding. And just, that is understanding their background, understanding who they are, understanding that bad day, understanding where this may come from. But people are going to say, but when is it the other person's responsibility to not act this way just because they had a tough time growing up?
Good. Bang on. Absolutely. I want to be super clear. I think it's so important, especially in this day and age, that we take responsibility and stop blaming our past. So with everything I've just said, I actually want to temper that, preface it with, we still at the end of the day become an adult, and we still absolutely need to take responsibility for our own choices. This is what I talk about with parenting is, I've made mistakes. I need to own it. I can't blame whatever it is. So with what you've said, or, you know, just this leading up to this point, there still then is a responsibility, and calling things is perfectly fair.
Yeah.
Right.
So compassion with boundaries, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and naming stuff.
take me back to, like, because I feel, you know, I often say when you're listening, you're always listening to a story, and most of us are dropped into the middle of the movie and we don't know where it all started. And that's part of why we get confused. You just said it. I see a behavior, you know, in this case, you know, challenging about the bus, and you're like, this seems like an overreaction relative to the crime, but you go back and understand where this may have come from. That's the compassionate part. So where does this come? So let's go back to your beginning. So I heard you say since kindergarten you wanted to be a teacher. So take me back. Where'd you grow up? What'd your mom and dad do for a living? Tell me more about you.
So I'm in Canada, British Columbia. I grew up in Penticton, which is a little town. At the time, it had 25,000 people. I think it might have like 30,000 now.
Okay.
And I grew up in a small town, and I grew up, I'm going to cry. I just had the best childhood, best parents, best grandparents, like just phenomenal. So a lot of like preparation for where I am today.
What
really
made them the best?
They were loving. I made mistakes, and I never once thought,
that you're not loved for those mistakes.
Yeah.
So you had secure attachment.
I did, very much so. Very, very much so. Yeah. And I had also 4 grandparents that grew up in my same town, which is pretty rare.
Very interesting, because sometimes, you know, look, as someone in the field of psychology, I have a master's in psychology, I often say we go into the field to fix the crazy from which we come.
Right. It's true. Absolutely.
So no one can speak to that truth more than me.
Yeah.
So, but you're describing the opposite of that.
Yeah.
And that's unusual, if I'm being honest, from my experience.
It is very unusual.
So it makes me resent you. Can we talk about my
we can go on the couch.
Listen, you had it too good, sister. What's going on there?
I know.
What are you in denial about?
But you're absolutely right, Christine. People that go into the mental health field, so many go to fix themselves. I mean, you know this, that now the requirements to become a psychologist have had to really tighten up, because we've had psychologists do things that you're not supposed to do to other people.
That's because they haven't worked out their own stuff.
Totally.
Now, that's true in every profession, just to be fair. It's just we have a different obligation, don't we, because of the ethical bounds. And look, it's in the sometimes it's egregious, like any profession. Sometimes it's just living in the subconscious, but it can really do some harm. Well, and
also interesting, I noticed this like week 1, like from this is a 2-hour discussion about the differences between education and mental health practitioners. There's so many differences, but right away I noticed that it was an environment that was a little bit more toxic on the mental health unit, because there's all these people with their own stuff. And not that teachers don't have their own stuff, but I think teachers have less stuff. If you want to do
agree with
trauma score, people that are in mental health have probably a lot higher of a trauma score.
Well, and there's a different vulnerability as well, that when you are working specifically with the population of mental health, not that, look, we know that the statistics and the number of mental health issues is just soaring based on the world that we're living in. I was listening, you know, and I've often said this, like, I can't imagine being so aware of everything that's going on in the world. It's too much to take in. Like, you know, you used to have just this much knowledge, and now we just have, like, I'm thrilled I can Google what I want to know, but at the same time, so much is coming at us that it's a lot to emotionally and mentally process. But so you grew up with these these grandparents and parents that were loving. Did you have siblings? Do you have siblings?
I have a brother in Ontario. Yep.
Okay, so it's idyllic in terms of the love thing, and so you want to be a teacher. Why a teacher?
In kindergarten, I made my little brother play school with me. He's younger.
That was your
thing.
thing.
Like, you got to sit here. There's something in your soul, like it to watch. So for me, eventually what evolved was transformation behaviorally and how they felt about themselves and
you saw
their own futures.
You saw the person.
But I actually standing in front of 30 kids and teaching something and knowing that they're receiving it and learning, there's just something about that. There's something about it.
So you were drawn to the kids that the firefighters that the other ones might run from, and you were seeing this transformation. And when did you decide to make this your field of psychology?
Long story. So 2018 is when I moved to the psychiatric unit. Now we were tertiary
to work. Just to clarify. Listen, words matter, Susan.
I'm so used to saying I was on the psych unit that I'm so used to it that I
you forget. I'm just clarifying.
Right. I had a little classroom. And the kids were with us for 3 weeks inpatient.
So you were an educator in the psych unit.
Yeah, I don't have a stitch it's not a stitch of psychology. My PhD is philosophy of education. It's the same one that Jill Biden has that Trump says doesn't count.
Fascinating.
Got the same degree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're working on, so we also, but now I'm going back 30 years when I worked in the psychiatric unit of the Pennsylvania hospital, and we had it was 30-day stay before HMOs came in. So we had a classroom in the hospital so that kids wouldn't miss school for 30 days because that would set them so far back.
Totally.
We also required, by the way, and this was groundbreaking at the time, we would not hospitalize a child unless a family member agreed to be there every day to support them.
Really?
That was the model.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Then HMOs came in and that changed, which is why I ended up leaving, because our whole thing as a systems therapist was you cannot fix the child even if they're the identified patient in context. You have to help them in context because family dynamics are fueling the behavior typically. Yeah. Imagine that.
We're not, listen, yes, absolutely. It is so not politically correct. And I've had hate for saying it starts at home.
Well,
it starts at home.
Yeah, and parents, there's a lot of broken parents because they come from broken places too. So we're all just trying to do better than the last time. And that doesn't mean it's always happening, but it's also that family dynamics we're all imperfectly imperfect.
Yep. It's very difficult, Christine, and nuanced is how can we work with families where there's no shame put on them? Yeah. We're not blaming you, but you actually have to take responsibility for your behavior because then you can change it.
Yeah.
Well, then otherwise you're not going to change it. If I just say it was always this person that did something to me, I won't change anything. Yeah. So it's a really difficult, nuanced mix here of this starts at home. So I am not judging you. Yeah. And you got to step up to the adult plate and take accountability and responsibility.
So 2018, you're working in the psych unit and are you still working there? Help me understand.
No, we closed. They closed us down a year and a half ago.
Oh, yeah.
I cried for a week. Well, so now it's an acute unit. So acute unit, right? You know this. You're in and you're out.
That's what happened.
Psychiatrist looks at you. It's like a blindfold on, shooting darts at a dartboard, looking through just a book, no brain scan to diagnose anything of the brain. Only profession in the medical profession that does not scan what they've diagnosed. And so it's acute. So kids that are acute don't do school, right? They don't have a use for a teacher.
This is 30 years later, but this is exactly what happened.
Was it?
Yeah, because insurance wouldn't cover 30 days of treatment so only, at that time, kids, adolescents that were suicidal or at immediate risk would be hospitalized and they'd send them home and there was no real intervention. Yeah. So what happened next? You go home and you're heartbroken, it sounds like.
So heartbroken. I was so I did my research at the psych unit with the students. A full year of research. What did you need as your mental health deteriorated and your substance use, because we were concurrent. Your substance use increased. And I was awarded doctor the same day I learned that they were shutting us down. Exact same day.
Oh,
Same day my father started chemotherapy. All in a single day.
that's the universe
So
saying a lot to you. That's a lot.
yeah. So I cried. I took my daughter to we were in the Peruvian Amazon when they closed. I was privileged to be on a trip. They closed and I took some stress leave, and then all of last year was off. I didn't work last year.
Wow.
Just to launch my own self, right?
So let's talk about your launch in you. So what are you up to with all this background and experience and life saying maybe there's a bigger message, something here for you to do, right?
Well, I started with teaching. I do still present in schools, but I had said to you,
Present what? What do you present?
About how do we support the kids? How do we do behavior management? Like reclaiming the language of discipline to make it emotional regulation that kids need for life.
Rather than just, not disciplining.
So and then I went, oh, shoot, no. Who wants to hear me? Because teachers are just too busy and not choosing it. So then you got to get into social media and Instagram and LinkedIn and a YouTube channel.
What's your mission? What's the goal for you?
My goal is to be a voice that I hope is transformative to relationships in both the home and in schools, so that there's better support, understanding, and care. And what does that mean? Like tangible ways. And that there's the get on their turf is not your level. It's not your turf. We have to get on the kids' turf to actually have that all happen.
And meet them where they are.
Meet them where they're at.
It sounds like you're trying to help teachers, parents, so forth, almost create the experience that you had the privilege of growing up with to the best of the abilities of to change it before it, as the child's forming, as the teenager's forming, so that some of the fixes happen as the pathways are getting wired, rather than waiting till it's because it is possible. So I remember listening to a neuroscientist say that the brain you go to work with in the morning is a different brain than the you come home with. It's that flexible, but you do have to rewire those pathways. It's like a dirt road. You can't drive it once and expect it to feel like pavement. You have to go over it and over it and over it and over it for the ride to get smooth. And so
that's good.
It takes repetition to build those neural pathways. And if you're traumatized, and we were talking before we started recording, that the earlier the trauma, the more hardwired it is, right? So what happens to a 6-month-old versus a 6-year-old? Both can be equally traumatic, but the 6-month-old, boy, that really changes who they are, doesn't it?
Well, it's why you look at stories of kids that were adopted and you don't know the first part of their life, and they're adopted into very loving, warm homes with a lot of support, and things go awry with them where, down the road, there's just huge challenges as an adult. And I argue that's deeply rooted within the first 6 years of life.
Yeah, well, that's
or the first year. First
that's
6 months.
when I say to parents, when's personality formed? We know the research is 6 to 12, right? And I'm like, how many of you felt like they came out baked, pretty much who they are, in the first year? And they're like, I didn't have much to do with it. I said so as a parent, and I'm not a parent, I have 4 nieces, but listening to the research and the thought leaders and what you're saying on attachment, I would be like, holy fuck, if I were a parent. Like part of me would just be like, holy shit, I am bound to this up, right?
Totally.
So how do we not fuck it up? How do we not fuck it up?
It's not for the faint of heart.
It's not.
Like, I say that all the time. Parenting is not for the faint of heart.
I say not for sissies. That's what I say.
That's true. I honestly, I did an interview with this great counselor, and he's so right. He said, I've worked with so many families, and I've never once seen it where the parents, when they truly love their child and sacrifice for them, we all make mistakes. He said, I've never seen this attachment later because that foundation is there. So I really think that we cannot be parents. This isn't a pastime. I say it all the time. Parenting is not a pastime. It's not a whoopsie. We must, our kids have to be our number one. As a woman in a career, I did a master's in administration in 2004 when my son was born. And I literally had this vision of putting my children on a platter for the job of
Hmm.
administration at a school. Like I said, there's no way I'm not doing it because my kids were my number one. And
Well, that's not everybody's option though. So this is where, I mean, I respect it. Don't get me wrong, but look, sometimes people become single mothers because it's not their
yeah,
plan.
yeah,
Sometimes life, a
yeah.
spouse dies. So in a perfect world, we're giving thought to this responsibility.
Yeah. What I'm referring to though is given options. I did not have to go into administration. I
Mm,
chose to stay in teaching, right?
yeah,
So I'm not talking about people that they have no choice. They've got to work or
yeah.
they're not going to eat.
Okay,
But we do have a lot of choices as women that we can't have about like going up the corporate ladder,
sure.
right? And I do agree that idea that we actually do have a limited time. And Sheryl Sandberg's leaned in, for which she apologized later,
Mm-hmm.
saying maybe not all women want this. She is right that you give things up. So for administration, once my kids were done high school, I was 50 years oldish, 48. That's actually really late to start in admin when I want to retire at 60 and I get full pension at 60 as a teacher. I will never become a superintendent because I don't have enough time.
Yeah,
And I was willing to give that up
yeah.
for my children. Now, for parent working, like single moms, that is a different story. However, you actually can still have your kids number one and have to
Well,
go to a job every day to put food on the
yeah.
table.
And so this, I'm just trying to get really practical because,
Yeah.
so my mother was a stay-at-home mom. And like, as I said, she would be the first one to say I come from crazy. And she would also say, you raised yourself. Like, that's what my
Yeah.
mother would say.
Yeah.
And I grew up in the 70s. So there's, a lot of people raise themselves by that standard. But my mother being at home didn't mean that
No,
she wasn't going to make
totally.
this insecure
So
attachment stuff because of her own stuff.
totally.
And love, I've worked with a lot of parents over the years, and even the ones that are doing really egregious things, love is not the issue, because you can feel love, but also be completely screwed up in how you approach another person, including your child.
Mhm.
So how do we know what that means to put them number one and to love
Yeah.
them? And it's not a feeling, it's an action.
But then you know it. Here's the question. Did you feel that your mother put you number one when you were growing up? Were you her number one?
I was absolutely her number one, but almost again, I'll sit down. I'm sorry for my listeners maybe this is too much about me, but almost to the point where I was too expected to be her number one in too many ways. It was too much responsibility. So that wasn't healthy,
Right.
I mean, because of maybe how I came into the world and a lot of the right messages I got and a lot of the right things my parents did, a lot of times for the wrong reasons, I became I was a good kid, but it could have gone awry. It could have definitely gone the other way. The pressure could have made me crack, instead of serve me. But I think some of that's how the story we tell ourselves. And I had this little thing where I was like, that doesn't seem all that right,
Well, that's interesting because I would have thought from what you said that you did not feel like your mom's number one, because I've actually said I think that that's everything. So then what does that mean? Because you said you didn't feel that you were her number one with your upbringing. You felt that you were her number one.
I felt very, she adored me. That the love was there, but she had a lot of need for me that was beyond the scope of what you should need for a child. I was in the therapy world, I was parentified. Right. And so, that's not healthy. That doesn't, but she adored and loved me. That doesn't mean that it was all, there was still, a lot of things to figure out. So it just in terms of like I said, as parenting is such a daunting role, what's the number one thing I need to do to get this right, to set my kids up to be securely attached?
You build those connections. I think that's number one. And so what does that mean? So I'm going to speak from my get on their turf lingo. For example, hey, what do you want to do? Do you want to go for a burger? You want to go for a walk? Go do it. That's it. My experience with my own kids have been like my son, we biked once around this big park we have here in Vancouver. The kid sings like a bird about something that happened a few years prior that he was heard about because we were on his turf. Like we were doing what he wanted to do and we were spending time together. Yeah. Okay. Then another one is like, where do you want to be? Kids don't want to have to find us in our office. Now, there's work hours. So I'm not saying there's not boundaries around that. I'm not saying that I drop a corporate phone call. That's not what I'm saying. But go to them where they are. They don't want to find us in the office, or,
they don't want to have to look for you.
They want to be pursued. Yeah. That's part of my language in my thesis. We all want to be pursued. And I don't mean like that with the Me Too movement language. I mean that you are taking initiative in me. You want to spend time with me. You value me. Even how are you doing is a bit of a pursuit, that I'm actually caring enough to ask you how you're doing. Right.
Yeah.
So number 2 is going to where they are. And the third one I talk about is, how are they feeling? So if you've got a child with debilitating anxiety, we must go learn that. So get on their turf with where they're at, because what really happens in a lot of damage that I have seen done, and I have done to my own kids of my own ignorance, maybe good intentions, but not understanding what they're going through.
Yeah.
And getting to their level so we can grasp it. It means I can support them better. It means they're going to walk through it better. It means that they're feeling more validated. I've had so many students feel invalidated by their parents because they didn't understand.
Yeah. And now again, so this is super helpful, because I think that it's hard because it takes time, doesn't it? And it takes intention, but it's easy and simple because it really is just about creating moments and really making sure. I mean, as a young therapist, I remember I wouldn't try to sit with a boy in an office. I would go and shoot basketball with him to get him to talk. Exactly. Because you can't face to face a 16-year-old boy and expect him to say a word. So it's meeting where they are. But just that changes so much in terms of what makes their world feel secure, doesn't it?
And the earlier we start, the better.
Yeah.
The earlier we start, the better. So go watch SpongeBob SquarePants with a 4-year-old and love it with them.
Yeah.
My daughter went through some really tough stuff in grade 2, and looking back now, it was just actually amazing because she needed us and I was there for her.
Yeah.
And my husband, I said to him, you're going to take her out. You're going to open the door for her. You're going to show her how to be treated by a man and by people.
Yeah.
You're going to go do whatever she wants to do, whatever movie. I don't care. We need to build her worth more than ever right now with what she was going through. And guess what? That built so much connection with us.
Yeah.
She's in university and she calls home every day. And I really think it was like, the earlier the better, but it's not too late. It's not too late. It's never too late.
You can be 60 and 40, 40. And if your father apologizes to you, it's a game changer if he owes you that apology. Yeah. So I think it's so important that I think, as again, working with a lot of people and parents, that this perfectionism takes over, and it's not about not making mistakes. It's about being present and creating those moments where you have these moments together. And that's what creates secure attachment, not just love, but being present with your kids.
And you want to, when you talk to people or for parents listening that they don't know what to do with their kid, this is it. This is everything.
Yeah.
The social media problems we're having, screen problems we're having. This is the antidote.
I know.
To
listening,
all of the challenges we are watching with Gen Z and our Alpha generation growing up.
Well, I feel for the Z's. I've talked about this before because they're the Jonathan Haidt researched it, the lost generation, because look, we didn't know what was happening when it was happening. Now we know. Yeah. So it's so interesting that we can say no, even though it's like now we might as well have handed them cigarettes, and now we're going, we learned smoking's bad for them. So take the cigarettes out. Are they going to go in withdrawal? Yes. Are they going to cry? Yes. But that's okay.
Yeah. I have talked so much about cigarettes and social media. Remember when smoking, there was a smoking section on airplanes and in hospitals. And then we went, oh, shoot.
Like if you're still taking it in. Right.
Whoopsie. It causes cancer. And here in BC, it was, I was born in 1972. I was in university in 1991. I started. And I remember early 90s, and they changed the rules in British Columbia where you couldn't smoke.
It was
in a pub, in a restaurant, and everybody freaked out. And somehow everybody got over that. The thought of it now is ludicrous. And the businesses still continued. So I've like that smoking revolution. We need a cell phone revolution, and we've shown it's possible. We've shown it's possible to switch the script and go back on what we've seen now. We know is so damaging.
Well, part of security is being able to hear no and know that you're still loved. So,
well, and you've probably seen this. Kids like discipline. They like,
of course they do,
knowing the rules.
Yeah.
And they know, like, it actually is harder for me. Like, I care about you so much that I'm taking the time to do this.
Yeah.
And it would be way easier for me to ignore this, to just let you do whatever,
Absolutely.
go away with, do whatever. But I care for you this much. And as an adult, you actually, well, it's called getting fired.
Yeah.
It's called losing your mortgage or your house or prison.
I learned as a young therapist, overindulgence is one of the greatest forms of child abuse. When you give someone, it's too much.
For
so,
sure. Absolutely.
Well, so I think it's amazing work that you're doing. How you came to it, I think is fascinating. And, that you want to be the voice of teenagers and kids through educators and parents so that they can securely know they're loved, feel they're loved, so that they can be healthier, functioning adults that also create more kids that are loved and secure. So the world's a better place. That's an amazing mission.
I just said to a student last week, people don't want to just get by in life. People want to thrive.
Yeah.
And Gabe Howard, a guy interviewed, said that to me. People want to thrive. And so let's create households that not just the household thrives, but we're setting kids up to thrive with confidence in life.
Yeah.
It really is what that's about. And then continuing that on for generations.
So
and ending cycles.
Yeah, well, and that's part of why we need voices like yours that has the experience to help us learn how to do that. So you do speaking, you work with educators, you work with parents. How can they find you, Suzanne?
Best way is www.drsuzannesimpson.com. It's all there. And I do keynotes there and presentations I offer there. And my Instagram is I'm a Dr. Suzanne Simpson everywhere.
Well, go out and follow Dr. Suzanne Simpson so that she can help you and you can learn. And I'm sure you're providing tips and for parents and educators on a daily basis that they can learn from. That's the beautiful thing when social media is used for good, right? Where we educate ourselves and connect with thought leaders like you that can make the impact. So thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you everyone for listening. It's been a pleasure, and we'll see you next time on Shine a Light. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine.